Lesson 7.5, scale drawings. Let me explain to you what a scale drawing is. Have you ever seen a model car? Show me how big a model car is. How big is a model car? Right? I mean, it's a little, you get a little box, and like it's maybe a less than a foot long. Agreed? Why does that look like a car, even though it's so much smaller? How do you know when you look at that and you go, wait a second, how does that even possibly look like a car when it's just this little tiny thing you can hold in your hand? Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, like, car's huge. Car's way bigger than you and I, and all of a sudden yet you look at this little model and it looks like a car. And everybody knows it looks like a car, because it does look like a car. Sladen. So what they do, though, is this. This is the important part, is they simply make, they draw they create something that has the same dimensions as the car. It has the same ratio as the car. It's just at a smaller scale. Here's what I'm saying. Here's what I mean. A scale is the ratio that compares a length in a drawing or model to the length of its original object. For example, let's take a real car. I know my drawings are so awesome. You're going to be so impressed with my car here. That's actually pretty good, right? I mean, like, come on. That's not bad. There's a car, okay? Let's say the car is 12 feet long. Does that make sense? Does that sound about right? 12 feet? That a car could be about 12 feet? Some would be longer, some would be shorter. But I mean, if you saw a car outside that was 12 feet long, you wouldn't be like, where? That's really weird. 12-foot long car. If I was to have a model car, right, of that exact same thing, and it was 1 foot. So that's way too, I need to rewrite this. Okay. Here's what you would say. That the scale of the model to the car is 12 to 1. Does that make sense? Your model car is not 1/12 the size, but it's a 12 to 1 ratio. The scale is 12 to 1. Does that make sense? If we knew that, here's where the math comes in. If we knew that, and I told you that the car was 6 feet tall, 6 feet tall. Oh boy. That's not an I, by the way. How tall would the model be? Now, here's the deal. Let me show you the math. Okay? If the ratio of the car to the model is that the real one is 12 feet and the model is 1 foot, do you agree with that? Okay, if that's the scale. And I want to know about the height of the car. If the height of the real one is 6 feet, and I don't know what the height of the model is, this is how you'd set it up. Do you understand what I'm saying? You see how I set that up? You write down the scale. You write down whatever the scale is as a fraction, right? As a ratio. You put an equal sign, and then now you write down the part that you know and the part that you want to know. What do I know? Well, I know that the real car is 6 feet tall. I want to know how tall the model is. Does that make sense? Do you see how I set this up? Can you see it? Do you know how to solve these? Do you remember how to solve these? We did this last time. That's what you guys were, that was your homework from last time. What do I do here, Sladen? Do you remember? Watch this. Watch what we do, because we have a very specific thing that we do. What do I do here, Jonathan? Do you remember? How do I solve any ratio? 12 to 1 equals 6 to x. Right, okay, so then let's just go back. I don't need to write that. We just start cross multiplying. What is 1 times 6? 6 equals, what is 12 times question mark? 12 question mark, right? What are we solving for here, people? What are we trying to figure out? The question mark. We're trying to figure out what the question mark is. Is the question mark happy? No. What's wrong with him? He's not alone. Who's with him?
6.
The 6 is not with the question mark. 12. Who's with the question mark? 12 is. How do I get, what is the 12 doing to him? Multiplying him. How do I get rid of multiply by 12? Divide by 12, divide by 12. That's gone. That leaves me with, that leaves me with 12 equals, sorry, not 12. Question mark equals 6 over 12, which is 1/2. So 1/2 foot, right? 1/2 of a foot. Think about it. Now, I want you to see this. If the length of the car is 12 and the height is 6, right? It means that the height is about half the size of the length. Does that make sense? So then if that's true, then what is half of 1? A half, right? Does that make sense? All right. Let's try another one. Where's another place that you might see a scale drawing besides a model of like a car? Where might you see a scale drawing? Like oh right, a mall map, right? Okay, it's a map. Think of this. If I have a map here, and here's the map of the mall, right? And you got all these little stores in here, you know. Stores, you know, and here's a store here, store here, store here, store here, store here, store here, right? All these stores. And I tell you that the length of the mall, the length of it is, we'll say it's 300 feet. Does that make sense? Does that sound about right? 100 yards? You know, the mall would be about 100 yards long. I think that's about right. Maybe a little bit longer, but whatever. There would be certainly could be a mall that's 300. And I had a model. Okay, here's my model. I had this, and they not a model, a map. Here's a map of this mall. They drew a little map, and the map had this being 30 inches. Okay, and this was 20 inches. So it was 30 inches. Here's the map. Do y'all understand that? So do you see where I'm talking about? We have a 30-inch by 20-inch map of the mall. Agree? You understand what I'm saying? If you have this map here that's 30 by 20, and you know that the mall is 300 feet long, I want to know how wide, or how long is it from here to here? Well, here's the deal. Let's set it up. I know a lot of you could figure it out just because you know your math, but let's figure it out using our formulas. What do we have? You write down the scale. Well, what do we have? What do we know? What do we know? Tell me the whole. What do we know? Yeah. In the map, we have 30 inches is the length, and 20 inches is the width, right? This is the map. That is the same as, right? It's the same as, we know that in real life that it is a 300-foot length, and we want to know what the width is. Do you see what I'm talking about? Do you see what I'm talking about? How do I do this? What do I do? What do I do? Cross multiply, right? What you could do is you could reduce this right here to what? What could I reduce 30 over 22? 3 over 2. It'll make things a lot easier when you go to cross multiply, don't you agree? 2 times 300 is 600 equals, what is 3 times question mark? 3 question mark. Divide by 3, divide by 3. The question mark equals, what's 600 divided by 3? So 200 feet. Right? 200 feet.
Don't you need to change the feet to inches?
Nope. Nope. Let's try another one. What about this? You ever seen a real map, like a road map?
Yeah.
A road map, sometimes they will say, on the map, it will say, that, okay, we'll do it, we'll draw our little map here. We'll make a big old huge map here. Here's a map of Contra Costa County. And here is Martinez. And here is Walnut Creek. Okay? And from Martinez to, well, we'll just go like this. We'll say that every one of these from here to here equals 1 mile. Does that make sense? So that distance right there, they'll actually have a length. They'll go like this, or they may go like this. They may go like this. This is probably what they would do. They go like this. This right here is 2 miles. Okay, since that's 2 miles, all of a sudden, and if I was to ask you, how far is it from Martinez to Walnut Creek, right? What could you do here? What would you do? You actually go, okay, well, each one of those lengths, so then we go, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How far is it from Martinez to Walnut Creek? Not 20 miles. 10 miles, right? If every one of those, so there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, right? If each one of those little distances there. Another thing that they do, that's on a map, it's called a legend. What if I told you that, okay, here's my map. Here's just another map. And we'll go over here to right here. And it says, that it is, that 1 inch equals 15 miles. Right? 1 inch equals 15 miles. And I told you that from here to here was 8 inches. Okay? If you measured it and you looked, it's 8 inches. How far is it from point A to point B? Well, let's just figure it out. Let's use our proportions to solve this. What do we know? Tell me the thing that we know. What do we know, Sladen?
We know that 1 inch is 15.
Perfect. We know that 1 inch is 15 miles. Notice this. What do I always write down? I'm trying to help you set up so you can learn to set these things up. What do I write down first? No. What do I write down first? You always write down, the first thing you do is to write down what you know. And we know that 1 inch is 15 miles. And that equals, well, now in the part that we want to know, we need to fill in what we can. We know that the distance from A to B is 8 inches, but we don't know how many miles that is. You see what I'm saying? You set up your ratios to form a proportion, writing down what you know, and then you leave the part that you don't know as a variable. What variable did I choose for this? Question mark. Am I allowed to leave the variable as a question mark? Absolutely. I could put a smiley face there if I wanted. Makes no difference. How do I solve this? Say, what do I do? No, what do I do? What do I do? Tell me exactly how to solve this. What do I do exactly? Tell me exactly what to do here. Joy, what do I do here exactly to solve this? Cross multiply. 1 inch times question mark is 1 question mark. Do I need the 1? What is 15 times 8? So is my answer 120? I would say the answer is 120 miles, right? Miles. Does that make sense? Really? Okay. Let's see if you guys can do a couple of these here. Let's see. Let's do number 5. Okay. When they ask you for a scale, what they want is you to break down one of them to where it's a number 1. If I had said this, okay, that there is 10 inches on the map is 70 miles. And I want you to break that down and make that into a scale. In other words, I want you to turn that thing into a, what is the scale as a ratio? Just like a unit rate, you need to break it down to where one of them is a 1. Which one do you think you're going to break down is into the 1? The inches or the miles? Inches, right? I'm going to write this down. 10 inches is 70 miles. Can I reduce this? Yeah. Divide by 10, divide by 10. It comes out to 1 inch is 7 miles. This is the scale, 1 to 7. 1 inch is 7 miles. Does that make sense? It's just like a unit rate. You're breaking it down to where one of them is a 1. Okay? So I want you to do number 5 on page 328. Page 328, number 5. So if it was a 15-foot model, if it's a 15-foot model to a 300-foot fence, what do I do? How do I get one of them to be 1? You just reduce, or you divide whichever one you want by whatever it is, right? So I'm going to divide both the top and the bottom by 15, because what's that going to get me? That's going to turn that into 1. That's what I want, right? It's going to turn into 1. So it's 1 foot model. What is 300 divided by 15? So the scale is 1 to 20. Does that make sense? That's how you'd write it. The scale is 1 to 20. Or you'd write it 1 to 20. It doesn't matter. Make sense? Yeah.
Are you allowed to label it?
Yeah. Yeah. Do number 7 for me. Oh, wait, hold on. Can't do number 7. I didn't give you a ruler. Do number 11. That'll be a good one. Number 11. All right, so the chair is 36 inches tall. Show me about how tall that is. For real. Like, a yardstick, right? About this tall? Off the ground, you know? From up here, it would be like yardstick about that tall. Okay, 36 inches tall. Your model is how tall with the scale of 1 to 9. So here's the deal. The scale, what do we know? We know that the scale is 1 to 9. Right? I know that my model is 36 inches. I know the real thing is 36 inches. I want to know how tall that's supposed to be. Did you see how I set that up? (9) equals 36. Divide by 9, divide by 9. The question mark is how long? How big? 4 inches. How many of you got 4 inches is the answer? Really? Awesome. Okay. I think you guys are ready to go. Here's your assignment. (4 to 14 and 24 to 29, all even.